All right, the Financial Inclusion Cluster Development Finclude project, commissioned by the government of Eswatini and supported by the International Fund for Agricultural Development through the Center for Financial Inclusion, is a timely intervention that seeks to accelerate economic growth by fostering competitive and inclusive clusters focused on specific agricultural products. To unpack the impact of this project is the project manager, Phumzile Mthethwa, who also shares what entrepreneurship should have in place before applying for loans from financial institutions. I'm happy that you and I got a chance to brief each other a little bit about the work that Finclude does before we got on air. And I suppose that the most striking thing for me is that, Finclude began in 2020 and, it was meant to wrap up late next year, 2026. But because of COVID, obviously, there were disruptions. But now you're looking at 2027. 4 years in now, if we do our math, and I was never good in that. What have you done differently from every other agricultural support project that we've seen before in Eswatini?
Thank you for having me, first of all. I think for Finclude, I think, first of all, we're being housed within the Center for Financial Inclusion. We have, during our implementation, leveraged strongly on the experience and lenses of what CFI does.
Right.
The biggest mandate for the Center for Financial Inclusion is driving the financial inclusion agenda in the country. So for us, though, Finclude is also more into the agri space. The process for us was to bridge, the gap for access to finance, particularly for smallholder farmers. So what I would say we have done differently in the time of our tenure implementing the project. Financial literacy is one of the fundamentals. If you look at a lot of our farmers on the ground, being a small country, you find a lot of the interventions, some have been done by other projects.
Yes.
But what is a key takeaway and exclusive to Finclude is the issue of financial literacy. And then we have also been able to develop some financing instruments in an effort to bring structured financing mechanisms for agriculture in particular. Although our sector in the economy, you find there is a lot of smallholder agriculture taking place. But if you look at the recent MSME FinScope findings of 2024, you realize that when it comes now to access to finance, there's very little financing that's going directly to farmers.
Right.
So with the products or instruments that we've developed, we've been able to partner with a number of institutions, including commercial banks. And most interestingly for us, it's also now tapping into development finance institutions. And all those institutions are now directly financing the farmers. What I won't leave out is the methodology itself. The clustering approach is a game changer on its own. We've all had the whole notion that Eswatini cannot work together. We will bring history that separates us and stuff, But what we have realized is that the clustering approach actually allows farmers to work together so as to attain the volumes of produce that are required by the market. And this has slowly enabled farmers to have secure markets all around the country. We've got quite a lot of markets that have come on board to the project. Yeah.
I love the clustering approach. I think it's very brilliant because we need that sort of, internal collaboration. It gives birth to a lot of, impressive and innovative ideas. And I can see how that is important. But I think one thing that you mentioned that I find very poignant and quite the salient point is the idea around, the FinScope survey revealing that there isn't much, funding that is happening, and yet we speak of financial literacy. What good is it for you to be financially literate when you're not receiving any funding? What kind of plea would you give out there to make sure that we bridge this gap? Because it is quite the irony.
I think we need to have this honest conversation that a lot of people, MSMEs, I've worked in the space for a long time. I understand their needs, and I do subscribe to the fact that we need more structured financing mechanisms.
Yes.
But when it comes to lending, what we've also learned as we work on the ground with various partners is that the issues around moral hazard, issues of adverse selection, when now it comes to giving out money or loans to beneficiaries, it becomes critical. What you know, I don't know as a lender, and my responsibility as a lender is to ensure that I create products and mechanisms to ensure that it comes back. So those are some of the things that Finclude was looking into when we were developing these products, to say, we know that Eswatini need financing,
Right.
but what controls and structures can be put on the ground to ensure that they bring this back? So in terms of ensuring that we have structured interventions, what financial literacy does is to help you as an entrepreneur to make a sound financial decision. You will have a buffet of products in front of you from different financial institutions.
Yeah.
So what financial literacy will do for you, it will make you understand that if you take this particular product, in terms of the total costing in the end, how much that loan will affect you. And also, before you even get to that loan, you are able now, with proper financial education, to do an assessment, of your business, of your needs, to say, do I really need this loan? And we always say you need to align this with your record keeping, business skills, they go hand in hand. And in our experience as we were implementing the project, we found there were farmers that actually thought they needed loans, but it was just maybe a poor record keeping and poor finance decision. So those have been critical, and we have farmers that attributed to that. And then also the issue of treating a business as a business, and with agriculture, you find that, it becomes tricky, and moving farmers from your domestic consumption to commercialization is not a very easy transition. So you also need to deal with a mind shift, taking that as a business, and how now you separate what can be consumed in the home and what can go into the market, and then managing the dynamics around family, because as a Eswatini, how do we starve when we can see there's a lot of food in the field?
Right.
So all those key lessons.
It's quite interesting. By the way, I had prepared a set of questions for you that I've officially neglected because our conversation has taken a really organic route here. Everything that you're saying right now, I really agree with you. But I also want to propose the question around the capacity, an honest one. Are we really in a position where our farmers have the capacity to be able to pay back these loans? Because I suppose while these commercial banks or these lending industries are quite reluctant to give out the monies, because we've seen this movie before. We've given out money that never really comes back. Is it because people do not treat businesses like a business, or they do not know how to record keep, or just the economic times that we are living under are really, really hard on them, that it is hard to pay back the funds?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of things, but to respond to whether our local farmers have the capacity to repay, from my experience implementing the project, with close monitoring and the business mentorship and coaching, they actually do have the capacity. And some of our findings are issues around perhaps the farmers not being properly educated about what some of the financial service providers are giving out.
Okay.
But what's been impressive, working with these institutions, they actually give themselves the time to go out there and educate Eswatini about their product offerings. I think the main challenge that I can say we have experienced is that when it comes to relaxing certain requirements, you find it's not always easy, but through, engagements with the different service providers, you find eventually there's something brought in space, and that's caused by that very same fear of what if they don't pay back and all of that. So what the project has also done, which is critical now in service providers issuing out finance to farmers, is the issue of market linkages.
Right.
One of the key requirements if
Very
you're in
important.
agriculture, you need to have the required volumes for your market. You need to have at least a letter of intent, some form of commitment from your intended market. That's what we have found. It gives more comfort and assurance to the service provider to say, given these parameters, we will be able to provide, a certain amount you are requiring.
All right, we have run out of time, but you have mentioned one of the imperatives that are required by these financial institutions, and that is market linkages. If you will, just list the mandatory or the most imperative ones that farmers should know of before they go out there and seek for funds.
It's mainly preparedness. I know that coming from a development space, a lot of farmers and entrepreneurs will tell you, no, Mtetwa, we are tired of training. We've been trained and trained and trained, But financial service providers are looking for preparedness. They are looking for viable business plans. They are looking for letter of intent of what you want to do. And the project is still open and still, being implemented. We provide those services. They are government services offered, so farmers don't have to pay for those. So those are the critical things. And now doing then the assessment of are you really credit worthy? So we help now our beneficiaries and the farmers to say, for this assessment, a financial institution will want to look at your history of, repayment, your history of, credit. You need to have at least those, which is why we encourage people to use some digital platforms. You have some of your basics, your Momo, to just have those transactions and being known that you're someone that can pay. But business plans, letter of intent from the market, those are acceptable. And also now farmers not only that are on farm productivity, even those along that value chain, like your logistics, your transport and agriculture, your cold rooms and stuff, there's opportunity for those as well.
Well, thank you so much. Very insightful conversation. Hope that the farmers appreciate it, but also heed to the advice that you have given out. Well, there you have it. She has spoken about preparedness, market linkages, as well as viable business plans and letters of intent. And that is your currency for opportunity if you want to really, get these funds from these financial lending institutions. So please heed to those recommendations. She's the project manager. Let's go for that break. We have Sunny Lesbia on standby for our market analysis.